Hey there, Soul Shines. It's Michelle here, and I'm so excited because today we are making Christmas stockings. Aren't they so cute? They have little things they can hang with, so they can be ornaments, or you can hang them on the wall. I'm going to do it this way. I discovered sticking candy canes in them for my kids, and they're gonna have money in them. Okay. Anyway, I'm really excited about these. These were really fun to come up with, and hopefully they took like an hour and a half to make, and that's really exciting and fun, and I'm going to make them for all my kids and maybe even some neighbors. And I hope that you have fun making them. So let's go over to the creation station and get knitting. Let's talk about what we need. We will need a pair of scissors, and we will need, wherever it went, a darning needle, and we will need yarn and knitting needles. So this one here, super cute. I made this with cotton yarn. I used this knitting needle here. This is a Chalgu, and I have my little tester thingy, and it's a 2.5. which I believe is a 1.5 in US. 2.5 millimeters is what I use for this cotton yarn. This is a one weight yarn, 100% cotton. I got it from Hobie, and you can use any yarn you want for this. You're just gonna change your knitting needle size. So this one here is, I'm gonna make a companion to it, which is why these are here, so that I get my numbers the same. And this one here, I used this knitting needle, and this is a 4.0, so a 4 millimeter. I can't remember what US size that is, 5 or 6 or something like that. So I'm going to use that one today, and I'm just going to be using worsted weight yarn. I'll show you in a second. I wanted to show you, I'm going to stick candy canes. I'm going to stick candy canes in these, and actually for my kids, I'm going to wrap money, like a $5 bill, around each candy cane, so that they have a little stocking with candy cane. Now I will tell you, this will not hold up because of the weight of the candy cane. And then this one here, I bought these for my aunt and my uncle. I'm sending them a package, and I'm going to stick these huge things in. Obviously, again, it won't hold, but I thought that would be really fun. I'm going to send a little note telling them that these are hot cocoa sticks. Which to me is just hilarious, but maybe not to other people. But imagine this as a hot cocoa stick. How many cups of hot cocoa could you get from this? It's huge. So for this one here, I just used regular worsted weight acrylic yarn. The way I see it is you can use any yarn you want. You could change different colors. You can use different weights. Just know that when you change your weight of your yarn, you need to change the size of your needle to match. You might want to change the size of your needle you're using depending on if you want it thicker. Like this is pretty tight. Maybe if you went up a size, you can make it a little looser, or if you wanted it even tighter, you can go down. So those are things to consider. Okay, and the other thing I forgot to say about knitting needles is, okay, first of all, you don't need it this long. We're just making a tiny little thing. I'm using the magic loop method. If you wanted to work it on DPNs and know how to do that, I'm sure you can do that. I could probably get away with doing this on a 16-inch loop because it's just, what we're doing is so tiny. I wanted to make sure I told you that. We're gonna start with our cuff. And so for the cuff, I'm using a white. So the cast on I'm going to be using, I believe, is called German Twisted. Here's what I forgot. I'm gonna do this all again because I need a much longer tail than this at the end, because it's for the bit that holds it up, I use this. We need a bunch of length before we do our thing, and then a bunch of length here. So I would say probably about a yard of tail to make sure we have enough to make our loop. Pinch your fingers, hanging it over. The tail is on over my thumb. The part coming off the yarn is over my pointer finger. I'm going to pull it down and wrap my fingers around, just like I was doing a long tail cast on. I'm going to go up underneath because I don't like to use knots unless I absolutely have to. I'm going to put my finger on that to hold it. I'm going to come towards me. I'm going to go under both. I'm going to come over the top of the one closest to my thumb, down in between them, and then my thumb twists down and catches and holds that open. I go over the one that's by my finger and pull that yarn underneath and under through my thumb. I let go, and as that's pulling up, I pull this tight with my thumb, which also sets me up for the next one. Okay, so I'm going to just show you again, in hopefully my hands are out of the way. Sorry if they're not. Over both of them towards you. So coming towards me over both of them, going under both of the thumb ones, down between on the thumb, and as I come down, that thumb twists around and holds that. Over and grabbing over the top of the finger, grabbing underneath it. Whoops. Going in slow motion can be a problem. Through it, twist around, grab the top one from going over, grab the top one, pull it through. When you let go, you also pull it tight with your thumb. Now don't pull too tight. We do want these to be kind of loose. One thing that helps is if you put your finger here and then you go under both of them, down through the thumb, over and under, and pull it through. Then as you pull it tight, your finger kind of holds that space. Okay, so let me go slow again. Under both of them, over the top of the one, let's see, under both of them, over this first one, and down through the middle. Twist your thumb around, pull that top, go over the top loop, pull it, or top string, pull it through. Let go with your thumb, and then use your thumb to pull it. And I'm going to go just a tiny faster, but still try to be slower so you can watch. Under, twist my thumb around, going through, pulling them. 2, 4, 6. I'm going to do one more slow, kind of slow. Okay, and now I'm just going to go fast and show you how fast I can do it. Because yes, it's awkward at first, but eventually, as you practice, it becomes quite easy. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That makes 14, so 2 more. And just for good measure, I'll do my last one a little bit slower. Okay, now I've got my longer tail so that I can do my little loop at the end that holds up the stocking. I'm going to pull these all down onto the cable, and because this is so small, I'm actually going to count, but I don't always count. I just kind of pick halfway. 2, 4, 6, 8. It should leave 2, 4, 6, 8 on this side. I'm going to fold it in half there and pull my loop through because I'm doing magic loop. I want to Make sure that these don't twist. I'm just going to fold them in half. I'm going to push both of these back on for a second. That way I can make sure everything's right. That I have half and half. It's a lot harder to twist it when you only have 16 loops, by the way. Okay, I imagine if you're using DPNs, you would put 8 on one needle, 8 on another needle, and then use a third needle, and only use 3 needles. That makes sense to me. So I want to make sure, I want my tail to hang down at the bottom, and I want my working yarn to come up between them and over the top towards the back. That way I know that I have it. I'm going to scoot the front needle up towards the front. I'm going to pull the back needle out because that's the one I'm going to work with. And I'm going to stick it in, and I'm going to get ready. And I'm going to knit my first one, and now they're hooked together. And I'm going to knit 1, purl 1 all the way across. And I don't think continental versus English really matter as far as, they're both work the same. It doesn't affect where you put your yarn or anything like that, as far as putting it up in between. Also, when I do my purl, and it's just habit for me, I automatically move it back behind so that when I turn my work, I'm going to pull this one all the way through and put it up, push this one up. When I turn my work, it automatically puts it up in between the needles. And that's what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter continental or English, but it's putting it between the needles that matters. And then however you need to hold your yarn for whichever way you work. You should be back to doing knits and knit purl across. Oops. Don't split your yarn. So yeah, we're just doing a 1 by 1 rib. So there's my purl, and I automatically turn it, move it to the back, so that when I turn it, and I guess it's rotating. It's not turning your work, it's rotating your needles. When I rotate my needles, it's ready, and I should be ready to knit purl across. And as you can see, here's my knit that just looks like a tall thing, and then my purls have these little collars. And so you can tell which one's next, but this is small enough, it should be pretty easy. So you're just going to keep working with your knit purl, and however long you want it, I will stop when I get to the end of this row and round and show you. I like to fold mine over, and so for mine I'm doing 10 rounds of the ribbing. And then, like I said, I rotate that, automatically rotate my yarn to the back, and then rotate my needles. And in order to complete a round, you have to work on both sides of the thing. That felt like it caught funny on the yarn. I'm gonna do that one again. I feel like something didn't go through. And so here's my last one, and again I send my yarn to the back because I know my next one's going to be a knit, and so it's already ready for doing the knit. And I rotate my needles. Okay, so I wanted to bring back this guy. and show you that I have 10 rounds going up here. And to count the rounds, I count one side of these little knit V things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 10 is hiding underneath there because that was my cast on. So I do my 10, and then I like the way that it looks when it's folded over. But if you don't want it to fold over and you just wanted it to be like that, you totally can do that. So I like to fold mine over, so I chose the size that I liked when it folded over. Happened to be 10. So I'm going to do my 8 more rounds, and I'm going to try to just not have to cut it and just do a speed thing through it, but we'll see what happens. So I will be speeding this up though, so you don't have to watch the whole thing in slow motion. Now some people like that, but I like to just get to the information. Okay, let me just tell you, I have this. I haven't wanted to show people. Like, I think I undid something, and it was one of those big, huge Super Saver balls. And so I just wrapped it around the outside edge, and because it's so huge, I don't want to make a ball with it. But it made it for very frustrating unwinding. So if I stop to unwind it, that's what I'm doing. Alright, one thing I forgot to say about knowing when you're done with your round. See your tail here? You need to work across all the way back to your tail. This is kind of indicates that you finished the round. I believe if you're working on DPNs, you could use the tail, or I guess you could use stitch markers if you really wanted to. I just keep track of my tail and know that I have to go across once and back, and then I get to my tail again, I've completed a round. myself a little lunch break. So here we are. And the dog started barking just because I wanted to record again. Okay, so I've got 10 rows. I don't count the little one that looks like a pearl here at the bottom. I'm gonna actually pull this out and use this to point. So I don't count this little part here. This is from, kind of looks almost like a pearl bump. This is from the cast on. So I start counting this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I count the one on the needle, that's 10. And now I don't want to cut this one. I want to cut the one that's coming off here. So I'm going to pull in my red, this so that it's ready. This needs to go up and in over that way so it goes inside of the thing. Then I'm just going to hold it and loop it around. And I'm just knitting. Oh, maybe I'm knitting. The idea is to just knit. Wow, dog. Just knit all the way across. So, because this is already behind, I don't really have to worry about that. But I'm going to rotate my needles and start knitting across this side. Well, this one here does get kind of loose, and I just snuck it up. It's right around that edge, and then sometimes I do tie the two ends together a little bit just to help go around. And then I like to take these two ends, not this. Want that out of the way. I'm going to take these two ends and go down in and tuck them down through. That way they are out of my way while I'm knitting. And all these tail pieces are just down here. And then I can keep knitting all the way around. And then I will explain something before I go. I'm probably going to speed all of this up or cut it out. It depends on how long it is. But I want to keep going. So I'm just going to, now we're just knitting. We don't worry about the ribbing. Just knitting all the way around. Which will make 2 rounds of red. And you are going to knit this till it gets as long as you want it to be before you put your heel on. I did mine. This one here is marked at 10, so I hooked it in on a 10th row, and then I hooked this on the 20th row, and then on my 21st row is when I started doing the heel. So I like mine to be about 20 from here to there. And you can choose to make them longer. I just think that this turned out pretty cute. So I will meet you back here when I have done 20 rounds. I will put markers in. I can show you, I guess, when I get to 10 rounds, how I hook the markers in. I actually use it, I usually go to the 11th round and then hook the marker iron. So I'll show you when I get there. Okay, I have done 10.5 rounds, and I like to mark every 10 rounds. It's not as huge of a deal for this small of a project, but I'll explain to you as soon as I attach it. So I go in and I find a V kind of close to the beginning of my round. It will help me remember where the beginning of my round is, as it gets harder to tell where this is. I'm going to go under both sides of the V and just hook that in there under that first stitch. So I've got the stitch that's on the needle. Let me pull back a little bit so it's silver. So I got the stitch that's on the needle, and then I have the hook right along hooked in at that first thing. The reason why I mark it is both to tell me, to remind me, so like when I was taking this one and wanting to make another one, I know where I'm changing it. And also because, okay, I counted up 10, and then I'm going to do another 10. This is small enough that I could count all the way to 20, but now I only have to count from here to here until I get to another 10. And so it makes it easier to count 10, 10, 10, 10, instead of having to count all the way up. And then like if you're doing like a regular sock or other things and you're having to count all the way up, you lose count of your count and things like that. So in order to make it even and match the other one, that's why I do 10. So I'm going to do another 10 rounds, and then we will be ready to start our heel. And like I said, you can choose to do yours however long you want to. I'm wondering if I can kind of tuck these just in that white section so that they're out of my way, because that tail was getting quite in my way. So that's just a temporary tuck in for, can't always do that on projects, but this one's small enough I can. Okay, I don't count the one that the hook's in, the marker's in. I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 up here. So I've done my next 10. Let's talk about where to do your heel. Well, let's look at this. This is where mine hook together. As you can see on this side, it's all smooth and neat. There's no obvious where the beginning of the round ended. The way that I did my heel, it ended up with this in the middle over here. But honestly, most people wouldn't notice that, so it doesn't bother me. If that's going to be something that bothers you and you want it specifically on one side or the other, that's going to affect where you put your heel. There are basically 3 places you can put your heel, technically 4. So let's talk about it. If I wanted my stocking to hang so that the toes go this way, then I would knit across to this side, and then I would start my heel back here. Okay, which is what I'm going to do. But if I wanted mine to hang this way and have it be to where this is the neat side, then I would just start my heel going across on this side on the first half of the round and go from there. So that's really a choice that you can make. Say you actually want your heel to like be so that this part where the join is ends up in the middle of the place, then you're going to want to do some shifting around. You would knit over 4, pull this out, or redistribute things on your DPNs or whatever. You'd knit the next 4 and pull it out again so that you had kind of shifted, and 4 and 4 got shifted over, and then now you're working with it going this way and that being in the middle, and then you can do your heel on the back over here. I hope that made sense. If that didn't make sense to you how to shift your stitches, then don't worry about it and just put your heel either on this side or the other side. I'm going to knit across and do to the other side, and then I'm going to put my marker in and I'm going to start my heel back here. Move my marker over. I put this marker in more for in case something happens and I have to undo stuff. It helps me to have a place to come back and put my needles in and catch it all up. And if you don't, I have a tutorial that will be up in the iCards of how I fix some mistakes in knitting, and in case you do need that information. So let's start our heel. We're going to do a shadow wrap heel, and it's going to be pretty fast heel. So we're going to knit until we get to the second of the last stitch. So we'll be knitting 7. Okay, on this last stitch, we're going to come in, we're going to lift up how, you know how we have how the V kind of loops up around our stitch that's coming out here? We're going to pull this half of the V up and put it on there. Try not to pull so much like I did. And then so we've got that up, we've got them separated. We're going to go underneath what we just pulled up onto the needle and knit into that. And then we're going to shift that half back over onto our needle so it becomes what's called a twin stitch. So now both of these are coming out of that same place. We're going to turn our work and we're going to purl 6 so that we have one more over here. Okay, this time we're going to slip this last stitch over on here because we're making a purl stitch this way. We're going to lift up our little purl collar thing there, and we're going to stick our needle through it and purl just on that. And now both of those are coming out of that same stitch. And we're going to slip both of those back onto our other needle. We're going to turn our work. And we are going to knit till one stitch before our twin stitch. Okay, so I knitted 5. And then again, I'm going to lift up that V that comes down from the row below up onto my needle. I'm going to knit into that. Flip that back over onto my other needle, and now I've got 2 sets of twin stitches. I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to purl till I get to the stitch before the last one, which I think is 4. Yep, okay. So I purled 4, and now I'm going to slip this next stitch over again. I'm going to lift up that little purl collar, stick my needle in from the back and purl it, and then slip those 2 over, and now I've got 2 twin stitches on each side of my work, and I've got 4 stitches that are just regular stitches. And so now I'm going to go across and I'm going to knit these 4. And I'm going to knit into both of these. So I stick it under both of those on the twin stitch, and I knit that. And now we're going to make this stitch a triplet stitch. So we're going to lift that up again, up onto our needle, hold our 2 stitches out of the way, knit in and into that. Pull that back over so we've got the triple stitch there. Turn our work back around. Now we're going to purl over till our twin stitch. And then we're going to purl the twin by going underneath both of them and just purl it. And then we're going to slip these ones over onto their net and we're going to pull up that collar, stick our needle through, keeping the purl stitches out of the way, purl just underneath there, and now it's got 3. So we're going to shift that back, and that was our heel. We are going to knit across till we get to the triple stitch. Okay, we've got our little triplet stitch there. We're going to go through underneath all 3 of those and knit that all together. Just like a regular knit stitch, but we're going under all 3 of them. We're going to go back to the magic loop by working across the other side. We'll catch this other triplet when we get over there. So now we're just going to knit across the top here. Oh yeah, that's the other reason I have there, because that helps me count how long my foot is. Like, I knew there was another reason I needed that stitch marker there. So I'm just going to knit all 8 of these across. Okay, now I'm ready to work on the other side, and we've got that triplet stitch. So we're just going to make sure we knit under all 3 of those loops. Just knit it together and then knit the rest of the way across. Okay, now if we did this right, we should have a little bit of a heel right there and our 8 stitches on our thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And of course we have 8 on the other side. So that was our heel. That was it. That was how simple it was, because it's such a small stocking. That was all we needed to do. Okay, now I'm going to keep knitting around and around until I have 10 more after this. And you can choose a different size for your foot if you want to. This is just how I did mine. Did I do 10? I think I did 10. So I'm gonna meet you when I've done 10 rounds and we'll talk about the toe. You know what? I think, looking at this, I only did 7 here. I did 10 on my other ones. That's why I'm getting confused, but I only did 7 here. So like I said, you decide how long you want your foot to be. So I will meet you when I've done 7 rounds. Oh, one other thought I had, and I'll share while I'm doing this. Once you distribute them to do the heel, if you did move your stitch so that you do your heel on like a side, don't like distribute them back. Keep them going how they are, because then you can just do the heel or the toe where you need to do it. So just keep going. You only have to move your stitches once if you move your heel. Now that I have 7 rounds, I'm going to do the toe. So I'm going to knit 1, and then I'm going to knit 2 together. So I'm just going to go under this one and this one, and I'm going to knit those. Gonna knit 2, and I'm just gonna knit 2 together again. I know that a lot of people like to do mirror things, and I just don't think it matters for this. And then I'm gonna knit the last one. So now I've got 6 stitches on this needle. And I'm going to go to the other side and we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to knit 1, and then I'm going to knit 2 together. If you want, I'm going to knit 2. If you want to do the mirrored knitting together, you can totally do that. And then I'm going to knit 2 together. Maybe. And knit the last one. So I should have 6 on this needle now. And then I'm going to knit all the way around 1 round. Do another decrease round. So I'm going to knit 1, knit 2 together, I'm going to knit 2 together and knit 1. Leaves me 4 on my hook needle, sorry, and again, knit 1, decrease by knitting 2 together, knit 2 together, knit 1, and then I'm going to do 1 more round. Okay, I'm going to pull that back over around. Now I'm going to cut off enough because I'm going to send it through all the way around and then tie it in. So I want just it long enough to do that. This doesn't have to be too long. I'm going to slide this up to the tip. And sometimes I can go through 2 and sometimes I can only go through 1 at a time. But I'm just going to slip those all onto my needle, pull it through, pull these up so they're up to the tip, slip those all onto my needle, and pull it through. I like to go through a couple of them over here before I send it down in. And then here's the hard part. First of all, I need to send it in far enough that I can reach it. But I'm also just going to start turning this inside out, I need it inside out for a minute anyway. Make sure I don't lose that going through because I want it to come all the way through. Where's my needle? It's even harder on the skinnier ones with the smaller needles, just saying. Or the smaller hooks. Yeah, smaller needles. Smaller yarn. But luckily I only have to do this for a minute. Oh, there's a problem. I accidentally ran it through right there and I don't want it through there, so I'm going to pull that back out. Okay, so that's just there in the end of my needle. That's what it looks like inside out, folks. So I'm just going to weave in my ends here. One nice thing is nobody's going to be wearing this. I don't have to worry about if it's going to have a ridge or not. But I do have to worry about I don't want it to go showing through to the other side. Although this yarn's dark enough, I don't think that would matter. And I apologize if this yarn was too dark. I know that there is good ways to weave ends in, but for some reason right here around the toe, probably because of the decreases, I have a hard time seeing it, so I'm just trying to catch a few back loops here and there. Hoping that it doesn't show through too much on the other side. And then I'm going to cut that off. Now, right now, it's looking pretty flat right there, but actually when you get it turned inside out, it doesn't stay looking flat, so. Anyway. See? Looks pretty good. And then that one. Maybe I did use 10. No, I used 7. I was like, maybe I did use 10. Okay, I'm not done weaving in ends. I'm going to pull this down so I can weave in these ends. And if you want to undo the knot, you can. That knot I tied pretty tight, so I'm not going to undo it. In case I haven't already mentioned it, I save my ends for stuffing my gnomes. If I make gnomes or other stuffies, I like to save these and recycle them. I have a little recycle can I put them in. And so I'm going to try to actually follow the rules of weaving in ends here best I can. And believe me, I do not really have a great way to teach you how to weave in ends. I had to Google it as I've been learning to knit. But I do know that there's like you follow the stitches kind of thing. Trying to think if I can find the tutorial that I found that was really good for showing it. I will hook it in the iCards up here. I'm trying to remember which person it was that I liked the way she'd instructed. Do my white one in. I like to try to follow the color, so I follow the white or the red when I'm doing in the red, and try to follow the white when I'm doing in the white. Which this is right on the edge of the. Actually, I'm just gonna go up the thing because this is right on the edge of the cuff, so you can't really follow the white stitches super well. of the thing meant up the rib. Okay, so now I'm going to decide how far I need that down. I like to have a little bit down so that that edge doesn't show. And then I'm gonna put my like something got twisted because I should be in the middle. Okay. I'm going to take this one over across here so that it finishes that loop. If I can remember. Then I'm going to kind of just send it underneath some of this over to this side, because then what I do is I'm going to actually come in down here and I'm going to catch this red and attach it so that it stays folded down. And then I'm going to do my best to weave it in. I'm actually just going to go up underneath here and weave it. Oops. Go underneath there. Gonna go weaving it in up my ribbing. Maybe. Go up one more. Okay, and now this is where I like to then put my hand like this to hold a loop. Since I'm sending a pair, I might want to make sure they're the same length or pretty close to it. Just kind of tie a little knot right there. Because that didn't tie how I wanted to. Somehow I ended up with the other little knot, that's why. Anyway, and then I'm going to go down and I'm just going to send it down to the back. I'm not going to really worry about tying it in right there, because I already have some going up here. So I'm going to go over, kind of pull my thing up and see if I can go up this one inside always. And I'm going to go over, just loop that over to here and go the other way. So that that doesn't come out. But I don't need to go all the way to the end because I don't want my little end thing to show. So cut it off. And now, other than I ended up with an extra loop somehow. Oh, it was just tied in itself. Okay. Now I have myself another little stocking. I've got 2 stockings. I hope that you enjoyed that. These are little fun little things that you can make for Christmas for people, or to decorate the tree, or whatever, to hand out candy canes. I just thought these were really fun idea. Remember to let your light shine through your creations, and I will see you guys next time.